All right, I'm going to start that introduction again. So hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Emily Flynn. I'm the Director of Health and Wellness for the City of Kingston, and this is the Live Well Kingston Commission meeting. It's 4:05 on October 20th, and I'm not going to go through all of the usual Zoom policies, but if there's noise in your background, please mute yourself. Feel free to turn off your camera if you'd like or stay on. This will be recorded and put on the city's Kingston YouTube channel for all who would like to review it at another time. I'm forgetting the other usual Zoom etiquette things to mention at this time, but I think at this point most of us are pretty well informed about it. Again, I'm going to do a little past the way I usually do introductions is I give everyone a chance to say their names, their pronouns, and then pass to another person. It gives me a chance to take a breath. And today I'm going to ask everyone to help me out. So I get a little blue in the winter. So I need some recommendations on things to look forward to this winter. So it could be an activity, it could be a lifestyle thing that you do in the winter that I could use support on. All right, so I'm going to pass it. Oh, and I use she, her pronouns. And I'm going to pass it to Troy Ellen. Troy Ellen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Troy Ellen. My pronouns are she, her, aya. I'm chair of the Live Well Kingston Commission and do a lot of work in the community around Kingston Emergency Food Collaborative, Citizens for Local Power, and I'm sure there are, and I'm also consulting with Radio Kingston on their launching their underwriting program, which will fuel the community fund to help people in our community who have an immediate financial need. And I will pass it on to Siobhan, who just joined us.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. I actually have to leave early again. This meeting, I have to go clean out a future community, what are they called? Community fridge? Yeah, that we're going to be opening in the Roundout. But my name's Siobhan. I'm the outreach coordinator for the Kingston Food Co-op, and I also run a small business called the Little Garden of Eden. I make vegetarian and vegan food, and I'm the secretary for the Live Well Commission of Kingston. And I guess that means I should be taking notes. So I'm gonna, the notes are on the agenda doc. Right?
If you want to, Siobhan, but remember we said that as long as we're virtual, I'll try to do it from the recordings. But if you'd like to jump in while we're listening along, feel free, but you don't need to. It's
okay.
Yeah.
It's when we're in person when it matters most.
That's when I really need help with notes, yeah.
Okay, we'll keep it like that for now, also because I do have to leave early. But was I the last person to go?
No,
okay.
Pass it on.
Who's next? Who hasn't gone yet? Pass it to whoever is next.
Susanna, I saw you put your hand up.
Sure, I'll go. Hi, I'm Susanna Callahan from the Institute for Family Health. I'm she, hers. Winter activities, is that it? Winter activities, the first two things that came to my mind were snowshoeing and hot baths, long hot baths with not bubbles, but sorry, it's late in the day. With salts, bath salts, relaxing ones. That's what I would recommend. I got through last winter with a new bathtub. That's what I did a lot. So next person, let me see. Susie Jimenez.
Hi everyone, Susie Jimenez with Adelante students and also Citizens for Local Power and a bunch of other projects constantly always working on. Pronouns she, they, and my favorite winter activity is actually wrapping presents. I really enjoy the holidays and wrapping presents for everyone. I don't know, but I'll pass it over to Amy.
Great, thank you. I'm Amy Groves. I'm visiting today from Dover Colin Partners. We are getting ready to launch the citywide rezoning project. So I'm here to tell you all a little bit about that, which I'll do in a few minutes. My winter activities, I love drinking hot chocolate while I watch the snow. So that's my favorite. I'm going to pass it to Eric Pate.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Pate. Pronouns are he, him. I'm also with Dover Cole and Partners, town planner and urban designer, joining Amy today. Winter activities, our office is in Miami, so I guess going to the beach. But whenever I'm up north, definitely hot chocolate and going hikes and snowshoeing. I'm all about that. So thank you all. Pass it on to Bob.
I'm Bob Dennison. I'm the chair of the Complete Streets Advisory Council, I guess, and various other things. From the winter perspective, I'd have to agree with snowshoeing and cross-country skiing is probably a wonderful thing to get out. It's too cold for your bicycle, Emily. Sorry.
Melinda, have you gone yet?
Hi, I'm Melinda Herzog. I'm a Healthy Communities Program Leader with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Ulster County. I use she, her pronouns, and it would seem that ubiquitously hot chocolate is a winter activity. I do try to make mine a little healthier with 1% or skim milk and, just actually using the cocoa and limiting the sugar I add. And then, following some of the ideas of adding, your own vanilla and cinnamon. So that's some of my favorites, but I don't think you've earned it until you've built a snowman, gotten wet in the snow, and you come on in. And in my day, you could actually put your mittens on your radiator and watch them steam, but those days are over for most people. So yeah, that's something to really look forward to.
Thank you, Melinda. Heidi, have you had a chance to go yet? I don't think so.
I have not. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Heidi. I'm with the YMCA of Kingston in Ulster County. My pronouns are she, her, Aya. What I like to do, a couple things in the winter after a real fresh snowstorm. I do like to either take a run or do cross-country skiing right in the roads. But one of my favorite things is when it's really coming down hard and snow, I like to get in the pool and look out the window at the Y and see it snowing really hard, but being able to swim inside. Kind of cool.
All right. Tanya, how are you doing today? Do you want to introduce yourself?
There.
Hi, thanks. Tanya Garment, she, her. I guess I've been on these meetings before, so I'm just a City Hall engaged citizen. I like to sit on my porch. I live on Wirt Street. We've got really great, beautiful trees and churches, and so it's great to sit on the porch and watch people walk by and say hi and see the beautiful street. And I also love taking my dog to the dog park and watching her burrow in the snow. Thanks.
Thanks. Hey, Kevin, would you like to introduce yourself? Are you on there?
I am. Hello, everyone. And sorry for not having our camera set up here, but hopefully we'll get that set up pretty soon. I am the director of housing here in the city, and I use he, him pronouns. Winter activity. I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm going to say beach because I go back home.
Thank you. Did I miss anybody? Did anyone not go? Nobody's waving at me. I'm a little jealous of the Miami and the Los Angeles mentions. That thank you all for sharing that. Thank you for that prompt. So we have a little bit of commission work to do quickly, and then we'll jump into the presentation or the conversation with Dover Cole about zoning. If you don't all mind, I think we have enough commissioners here to have a quorum for the meeting minutes. Commissioners, have you all had a chance to review September's meeting minutes, and would anyone like to either give me some edits or propose a motion to approve them?
Emily, I didn't see any edits, so I'll make a motion to move the minutes.
Thank you, Heidi. Would anyone like to second or any other edits?
I'll second. Oh, sorry.
I'm going to give it to Siobhan because Troyan, I feel like you're in my notes a lot. Thank you, Siobhan. All right, any abstentions for anyone who was not at that meeting or who would like to abstain for any reason? All right, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All commissioners, all in favor of accepting September's meeting minutes, you can do a thumbs up, you can do the icon, you can say aye. I
Aye.
see Susanna, I see Heidi, I see Melinda, I see Troy Ellen. Susie, did you vote? I missed it.
I don't think Susie was at the last meeting.
Susie, can I put you down as an abstention then? Cool, okay, thank you for that. All right, so I think that passed. Thank you all for passing September's meeting minutes. Then moving on from that kind of, I forget the word for it, but kind of the commission work, let's move on to a discussion about zoning. Thank you, Amy and Eric and Kevin, for joining us. Last month, Tanya actually joined us and gave us quite a lot of information about zoning. And so the commission loved the idea of having y'all come here and tell us a little bit more about the project. I know a little bit as a city staff person, but why don't I pause there and let you or Kevin kind of introduce the project and the goals of it.
Great, sure. Well, actually, I have a short, I don't know if I can screen, am I allowed to screen share? Can I?
Yeah, let me give you permission.
I have a,
yeah. Oh, you got it.
I got it. Great. Okay. So I have a short presentation I'm going to go through here, and just some background on the project and what we're working on, and the schedule of upcoming community events. And then this shouldn't take too long, and then we have lots of time for discussion. So again, I'm Amy Groves with Dover Colon Partners, and the project we're calling Kingston Forward. So you should be hearing and seeing information about Kingston Forward soon, and it is the citywide zoning project. And I mentioned it from Dover Colon Partners, myself and Eric, but we're part of a larger team that you'll be meeting over the course of the next year as we're doing work, and that includes the LaBerge Group, who are land use planners based out of Albany, and they are helping with the environmental impact, the GEIS. And then we have the Land Use Law Center, which is helping with administrative and code and integrating the code into your existing regulations. Hall Planning and Engineering is traffic engineers. They'll be part of the team working on street design. And then we also have a team member called Gridix, who is putting together an online platform so that the new code will be hopefully very user-friendly, easy to use through an online interactive site. So we're at the very beginning of this process. We're just starting with our initial analysis, and we're reviewing all of the previous plans, the existing code, and we did come into Kingston to do an initial site visit at the end of September. Had a chance to meet with a couple of the folks on the call here, city staff members, and we got out and did a couple of initial walking tours. You might have seen us around taking pictures or measuring the streets, and we're just really getting familiar with Kingston and the neighborhoods in Kingston, and doing what we call a synoptic survey. And I put an example of one here. And so basically looking at some of the key dimensions of the street spaces, and then looking at the buildings themselves. What are the uses? What are the building types? How much of the lot is covered? Really just kind of becoming familiar with the pattern of the built environment and how that is different in all the different neighborhoods of Kingston. So that's something that we have in progress right now, completing these surveys for all the neighborhoods. We're also doing initial analysis, and I'll call attention to the word draft up in the corner. So this is based on the GIS data we received. We're kind of verifying, so if you see anything wrong, let me know. But kind of looking at things like vacant, where are the vacant parcels in the city? This one, actually, there's some missing data, all the gray, but the colored parcels, you can see it has the building age, so you can kind of see where some newer buildings are compared to the vast majority over 20 years. And actually, we're talking about, we might break this down further for this. I think it might be interesting for people to see. We're also making some maps like this one, areas in proximity to the Green Line. I think that's kind of interesting, interesting map to be looking at. There's a lot of information online right now on engagekingston.com. And you can, when you go there, you'll see the Kingston Forward Citywide Rezoning. You can click there. And there's information on the upcoming meetings. And there's also an initial survey. Here's some of the example questions that you'll see as part of the survey. We're trying to get a sense, from the community members of, what your priorities are, and just start these initial questions are to kind of start the conversation. So you can come to the upcoming meetings, and we'll get into a lot more detail than you can get in a quick 15 question survey. But the questions are, what things does Kingston need more of? Housing or open spaces or shops. Should residential neighborhoods allow more mix of uses? Things like corner stores or porch cafes. Should there be more opportunities for mixed use development in the city? For example, including residential uses in industrial or commercial areas, or would you walk, bike, or use transit more if there was improved infrastructure? So again, just some things meant to stimulate the conversation when coming to the upcoming meetings. And so again, this is all setting the stage for what we call a charrette. It's a fancy word, but basically it's just a week-long series of meetings where we're going to be coming into Kingston November 4th through the 10th, and rolling out base maps and brainstorming and wanting to set the vision for the future of the city. And then from that vision, we can create detailed code provisions so that when new development or street improvements happen, they happen according to the community vision. There's going to be a series of hands-on activities, again, looking over base maps and talking with us and looking for, we're wanting to hear from you what is important, what things about Kingston that you all love that should be preserved, and where are there opportunity sites that and if development was to happen there, what should development look like? So wanting to kind of hear what the community vision is. And here's some example drawings from a project in Albany, just to see kind of understand. We would be doing then drawings like this for Kingston based on the information that we hear. So here is the existing conditions, and just drawing that another way. And then here is potential future conditions. So looking at where are there vacant sites where that could have new buildings, and what do those buildings look like, or what do new park spaces look like? And again, just another one, where does parking happen, and how tall should the buildings be, and the design of the streets, should there, what are the important elements that are there? Is there on-street parking? Are there street trees? So again, these are the kinds of things that we'll be looking at during the charrette week. So how does the charrette work? We'll have the very first day, these brainstorming input sessions. And then our team will set up an on-site studio. We're going to be working at City Hall, and we'll take all of the words and ideas that we hear and start to create those visuals. And then at the end, we'll have a presentation and show what we have so far, and ask, is this on the right track? What do you like about this? What don't you like about this? And the idea is that within a week's time, hopefully we make a lot of progress in understanding what the vision is for the future, and what are the things that need to be addressed and covered in the code. So getting into a little more detail about the charrette week. So those kickoff and input sessions, we're going to have 2 of them. So there's going to be a virtual option on Thursday, November 4th, and an in-person option on Friday, November 5th. You could come to one, or you could come to both. But they're going to be very similar. The difference is having an opportunity to participate online if that's easier, or an opportunity to come in person and get around the maps. And then for the rest of the week, we're setting up a series of walking tours and stakeholder meetings on different topics like preservation and transportation, arts, housing. And then we're also going to have hours that you can just drop into the planning studio and look over our shoulder, see what we have so far, and tell us what you think. And then finally, the date of that work in progress presentation is November 10th. And I think we're set now at the Kingston High School Auditorium is where that meeting will be. Oh. So this schedule is, I know it's a lot to look at, but if you go to engagekingston.com is where this lives. And it's basically just getting into a little more detail about each of those things I mentioned. So on the left side here, you see those 3 big events. I would say if you're talking to anybody and they're not sure, this is kind of overwhelming, all these things are happening over the course of a week, these 3 events are, if you can only come to one, come to one of these events. And that's where we'll have formal presentations and, be collecting input. But on the right-hand side is all of the detailed additional meetings. So the walking tours, stakeholder meetings, and the open studio hours. So as time permits, if you can drop in to any of these meetings, they're all open to community drop-ins, and to kind of see how the process is going, see what we're drawing, tell us what you think. So again, it's most of those are going to be at the studio space, which is going to be at City Hall. But we are you can see that each evening, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to be going out to different locations. We're still nailing down the locations for that, so they'll be updated on the website soon. But the idea is we'll be getting out of the studio space and coming to some other places that might be more convenient for folks to drop in, and trying to just make it really easy for folks to come and see what we have and tell us what they think. So at the end of the charrette, what do we hope to have? We're the work in progress presentation will be sketches and ideas for what the community vision is for opportunity sites or streets or other public spaces. And then very first draft ideas of what could be included in the code. So for example, mapping, where different character areas are, and maybe some ideas for, what the setbacks or heights and some of the numbers are, that could become part of the future code. So we won't have a draft code at the end of 1 week, but we will have some initial ideas that we'll be checking and asking, if we're on the right track about. And then after the charrette, we'll be starting to draft the code. And one of the big ideas for this project is that we'll be using a form-based code method to write the code. And what that means is basically the code itself, instead of it having the main focus be on land use and density, which the current code and many conventional zoning codes are, the big focus will be on building form. So how buildings address the street, what the form and the massing of the building is. Uses will still be regulated, but it'll be kind of a secondary component. So it just the big idea is really focusing on creating a certain the public spaces, framing streets with buildings and what the forms of buildings are. So that's the mechanism that we're going to use to basically take a visual vision from the community and translate that into rules for future development and improvements. So the code itself will have maps like this example map, that maps out the different districts or the different areas of different character. It will have, the rules for new buildings, building heights and placement and parking location. One of the differences with form-based codes is it's not just about private development, but it has guidance for streets. So, for different contexts, from a suburban or a more residential street character all the way to your mixed use areas. What should the key elements of future streets be? How wide should the travel lanes be? What things need to be included? So that gives guidance to future street improvement projects. Many codes also, I mentioned that the codes focus on the form of buildings. Some of them have detailed architectural standards. But the others just have, more basic standards, but they'll all address building appearance in some ways. For example, these diagrams here that show, the amount of transparency that should be, having doors and windows that face the streets and frame public spaces. I mentioned Gridix, part of our team creating the online interface. So the idea is when we have a first draft of the code, you will be able to review it online and hopefully make that easy to use with a map feature that you can click on your parcel and see what the proposed rules are. They've been working over the last month to take the existing code and load it into their system so that we can easily compare, the proposed zoning to what the existing is. And so here's, as they're starting to do that, integrating your existing zoning districts into their system. And this is my last slide, just looking at the overall timeline. So we are, right up at the very beginning. I mentioned that there's we had that site visit in September, and The initial surveys are at Engage Kingston right now, looking at getting ready for the charrette November 4th through the 10th. So if y'all could help to spread the word and point people to the Engage Kingston site, and hoping to get lots of participation that week. And then we'll be working in the months following that. Expect to continue to get feedback as people look at the things that were produced during the charrette week, but we'll be working on creating a first draft of the code, looking at spring, potentially March of next year, having a first draft for review. And then from there, continuing to refine it, looking at overall, just a little over a year for the overall process. And I mentioned the EIS, the environmental review will be, again, as we have an initial draft of the code, our team members will be evaluating the impacts of that, and there will be the EIS, the generic EIS can be approved along with the code at the idea would be they'll both be ready at the same time, potentially this time next year. So with that, I hope that was a helpful overview. I'm going to stop screen sharing just so we can see each other, but I can happy to bring any of those images back up. And I'm curious what questions that brought up, and Kevin and Eric are here to also help answer anything that you all want to discuss.
Amy, have you ever, you've been around Kingston, have you done any other projects in community that's similar to Kingston? And if you have, where are you at in that project?
So our team, we were part of the Rezone Albany effort, and I did bring pictures up there, so that it's not too far away, and we worked, so we work there. I think every community is unique and different, so I don't want to say too many places are similar to Kingston, but certainly Albany is not far. So
did they implement some pretty dramatic zoning changes?
So they did. They did implement a new code. So they did not replace their entire code with a form-based code. They have form-based districts for certain districts, and that's the portion that we worked on. And then they have other districts in other areas of the city. So it's not completely the same because it wasn't replacing the entire code, but certainly for portions of it. And we did a very similar process where we had a charrette and got feedback and did the illustrations, and from that drafted the code.
Troy Ellen, you want to go?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for that very comprehensive presentation. I find this fascinating. I learned about it like 2 seconds ago, and now I, at any given time, have 45 Google tabs open about form-based code. But one of the things, so I'm excited about this and I want to participate. And as I said in the chat, I've already filled out the survey. But one of the questions I do have is the city of Kingston, for example, recently, did a whole Broadway streetscape project. And given the fact that that has been completed, how do you, accommodate that or plan for that? And is that the sort of thing that will just be, well, it's done and we work around it? Or might there be modifications along the way based on the work you do and the learnings you gain that would affect how that streetscape is going forward? I hope that question is clear to you.
Yeah, let me start, and then Kevin, you can jump in, or Eric, and add to this. But I think that there's certainly projects that are recently completed, or also that are probably underway right now, right? So we're not going to get out in front of those, and so those are kind of moving along and gathering community feedback and on their own process, and so expect those to continue. And so the idea with the code is that it will gather feedback and have standards for new streets, so that in the future, when you have another street come up for improvements, there's already guidance in the code that has some community input behind it for what things need to be included as part of that street design. Now, certainly there may be people who come to the meetings who have feedback about Broadway or other streets better way. We'll take that feedback and we'll pass it along to the city. But you know, I think that the goal for the code is that it gives guidance to future projects.
Okay.
And I don't know, Kevin or Eric, if there's anything I left off there, if you want to correct or add to it.
I'm happy to jump on for a second. Just that, you know, they're existing right now in Kingston. A lot of buildings are what we call non-conforming, meaning that they don't actually respond to the city's code. So we imagine that when we do this update, there'll be other buildings now that are non-conforming, or that they don't exist in the zone that currently corresponds to them. But that's all right, and that exists, and that's part of a code process. So hopefully we'll bring in a lot more buildings into compliance than we're taking out of compliance. Anything else, Amy?
No, I think there are other questions.
I have a question if none of the other people do. So I want to take a moment to think about how zoning affects health and the different like connections there. So for me, walkability is a clear connection to health. So complete streets. So the way we design the streets, so transportation makes a lot of sense to me that's health. Is there other ways that zoning can affect health that might not be as obvious to us all? I can keep brainstorming, or I'll let you guys speak because I'm sure you know more about it.
Well, I think one is potentially to add on to that, but mix of uses. So you know, when you have all, you know, residential use in one area, you know, there's not as many destinations to walk to, so you're more likely to get in your car and have to go places, versus if there is, you know, some things that you can do on foot or by bike, you're going to be able to do that. So it's not just having the sidewalk or the bike lane, but having a place to go that's you know, short enough distance that you're able to do that. So I mean, that's one thing. So looking at, you know, where there's areas, or, you know, if there's, even if it's not a big mix of uses, just, you know, having a corner store or something, you know, that, you know, not every trip has to be in a car. So that's one immediate thing. I don't, Eric, do you want to add on?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a mix of uses is critical to helping walkability. But you know, kind of what the form-based code does really well is just kind of helps improve the physical environment, the built environment. So it's not just, you know, possible to walk from one place to another, but it's probable. You know, it'll be a pleasant walk for people, you know, whenever you don't have to walk in front of large parking areas if parking is in the rear instead of in the front of the parcel. That kind of approach to the built environment is also a very important part.
I just wanted to make a comment on that. I'm also sitting on the Kingston Climate Action Plan Update Committee, and being as that's in progress and they have a draft, it might be good to meet with the Climate Smart Task Force just to kind of give a nod to some of the things in the zoning that are also going to correlate with the Climate Action Plan, and probably what you're planning could correlate easily with, you know, so the two documents cross over.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that there's the next draft of the Climate Action Plan is coming out soon, so we're eagerly awaiting to see the next draft, and absolutely thinking, you know, that we're going to coordinate the two together.
And
I'll
those
add
two.
something. Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, yeah, that those two efforts, this effort and then the Climate Action Plan, those should go hand in hand for sure. Sorry, Kevin.
Nope, I was literally just going to say that exact thing, that the code is definitely, you know, very involved in even small things such as, you know, making sure that our medium and larger size commercial developments include electric vehicle charging stations in their parking lots, or the possibility for solar panels. And there's a lot of overlap between that and or, you know, solar canopies for parking lots. The Climate Smart Initiative and this form-based code are going to be one tool. I will say, of course, just because, you know, I'm the director of housing, that housing, and then further that point, housing, and then again, housing. that's a big part of this code update. Not only do we not have enough in the city of Kingston, which is causing a serious affordability crisis, a lot of our housing stock is in poor condition. And what this form-based code can do is it make sure that we are, whatever housing that we are adding to the city is being built in a way that's sustainable, and it's being built in a way that encourages walkability and density, which is not exactly what the current code is designed to do. It was built in 1961, our current code. And so it has a lot of concern about making sure that there is one parking space per bedroom, making sure that homes are as far away from each other as possible, and that you never get to share a wall with your neighbor. And so the concerns that are in the code now aren't necessarily reactive to the concerns that we have now, especially when it comes to housing. So that is a big portion of that I think affects health as well.
I saw two different hands go up, but I had sort of a follow-up question, and that was, could zoning also sort of talk about parks and green spaces and like where they are missing in our community?
Yeah, absolutely. And so there can be standards there can be, incentives to create open space, with as part of new development. There could also be, standards for, required amounts of open space in some areas and some districts. There can be standards for the design of parks. So, for example, what's needed in parks in certain in more urban contexts in the neighborhood, what is needed in parks, near the waterfront. So there's a whole variety of ways that parks and open spaces can be addressed, and certainly that's all part of it. So if you took the survey yet, I think you'll note that parks and open spaces and looking for where parks and open spaces are needed is part of what we're trying to gather feedback on now.
Thank you. And Heidi, did you put your hand down, Heidi? Did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, that was a great question, Emily. That was one of my lineup. The other thing I question, when we're looking at, how we define neighborhoods and, make the spaces we want to become more healthy, do we look as part of this package at how, like, if we want more people walking, we'd like more bike riding, just to ensure the safety of doing those activities in and around the city?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the street design standards can be an important part of that. Having standards for having protected bike facilities, for example, and what the dimensions of those are, and standards for the width of sidewalks, and all of those things can be part of it. And they're not only about the width of the bike facility itself, but also the vehicular travel lanes, like getting those to a right size where the speeds are going appropriate for the context where it is. So the speed is the number one safety issue, when there's an issue with pedestrians and cyclists. So getting the vehicular speeds acceptable so that everyone could be within the same street space.
Troy Ellen, your hand is next in my grid. You want to go next?
Thank you. I have a question related to the fact that in Kingston, there's been a lot of talk and planning and thought around urban agriculture. And we're not talking just about me growing tomatoes in a container garden outside of my window, or someone doing it in their backyard, but really talking about things like food forests, where it's everything from berry bushes to, fruit trees. It does, and in other communities, I know a lot of the code, which is the Euclidean code, it says what you can and cannot plant even in certain places throughout the community. So I'm wondering if the form-based code allows for some latitude, flexibility in terms of where food forests could be placed in the city.
That's interesting. I don't know if we've had a code yet that has done that, but certainly the framework is set up in a way that we could. And if that's one of the community priorities, we can, we can do that. And I know during one of our recent, we were at a meeting last week, and this came up, and they shared the recent report with us that talked about urban agriculture. That was and Eric, I don't know if you have the name. The name is skipping my mind right now, but absolutely something that we're getting up to speed on, and want to get some feedback on that at these meetings, and certainly if that's one of the priorities the community wants to see, we can, I think, figure out how to write those types of regulations into the code for if it's certain districts that allow certain things, or what that that are more permissive, or what that means. I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll figure it out.
So you're also going to find that that is an overlap with the climate action plan, because that is included. It is a section of it. What's not necessarily kind of pointed out in it is, besides, when we think of urban agriculture as what are we going to plant, I know that there are codes about, what animals you can be raising as well. And, that's also something to be addressed as we look to food security for people.
Yeah.
Bob, are you raising your hand, or are you saying goodbye?
No, I'm just raising my hand for when you get a minute.
Okay, I think
Tanya was up first. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Tanya, go ahead.
Can you tell us a little bit about what could be done in the code to encourage use of parks? I think a lot of times in Kingston, the parks don't get used very much. They're sort of in the middle of, they end up being more destination than neighborhood amenity. And what could be done to help activate them?
Well, I think that we certainly could, include recommendations for the programming. What sorts of things could be, can be, or there could be standards for things that could be included, or incentives for including things that are needed in the community. And so that's one way that the code could address that. I'm curious, Eric, if you've got other ideas on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's various development incentives that you can kind of explore with that as in a way to kind of promote, the use of pocket parks and other kind of common neighborhood areas and in developments. So, I mean, a lot of kind of form-based codes, there's a try to encourage people to build to the street, but sometimes there's opportunities to allow for maybe a kind of a corner park, in a place where that's the case. And so, there's definitely ways to create that incentive to create more small neighborhood gathering community spaces through this.
I'm curious, is your question more about the programming, the type things that the park is used for, like active recreation versus passive spaces versus what sorts of things are in the parks? Is that where you...
I was more thinking about what kind of development around the parks
Okay.
That a lot of times they're stuck in the middle of residential only neighborhoods. And how could things grow to be more mixed, so that people actually, you're not at a park and you're stuck there. You could cross the street and go to the cafe, or go somewhere and you happen to be near a park more.
Right.
Yeah, can I just actually add to that, is I've been curious about why people don't use the parks as much as you'd like them to. And if anyone's ever done a survey of that, like who uses them currently? Do they fit a certain demographic sort of profile? And if we don't know, is there a way of knowing that? And in terms of health, are we mostly concerned about more quote unquote sort of underserved populations and communities that have less access? And there's a lot of that in the literature about especially in urban settings, where people, lower income people, which includes people of color, have less access to green space and safe places outdoors to be active. But I don't know if that's under the purview of what your company is doing. But we've brought this up in Live Well Kingston before too, is to kind of try to understand that. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that we can be asking and try to get some feedback on it. I don't know that we have, an in-depth scope item per se to do that, but it's certainly, now that you brought it up, I think something that we can, ask about and, kind of find out why people aren't using parks, or would you use a park if it was located within a quarter mile of your home, and what sorts of things would you like to find there? We can be asking those. And so at least informally start to gather the community input on it, so that we can kind of understand what sorts of things are needed in the parks in order to maybe get them more utilized, or maybe it's a matter of that they're just not located. There's maybe certain areas of the city that need more park space.
I want to make sure Bob gets a chance to ask his question. I just want to put a plug in that transportation sometimes is the connector to get more people in parks also. Go on, Bob.
Transportation is the heart of everything. You know that, Emily. I just wanted to point out that and Emily is the project manager for a pedestrian bicycle master planning effort that's underway. So my presumption, of course, and I'm sure that the answer to this is yes, that you guys are going to be interacting with that activity and that consultant, so that the zoning code is consistent with the outcome of the pedestrian master plan.
Absolutely. Yep. And so, I think, right now we've been getting up to speed on all the previously done plans, and again, trying to, build upon them, but we're aware that one is getting started up now, and anticipate we'll be doing lots of coordination over the coming months. So.
I felt like a lot of quick questions. Clearly, we're all very interested in this. A few more questions? Anyone else like to get one in? Did we sort of satisfy all of our thoughts for now? And I'm assuming, Amy and Eric, we can reach out if we have further questions, or do you want us to go through Kevin for that? What's the process for more information?
Yeah, so everything is up on the Engage Kingston site, and I think it actually has Kevin's and my emails, so you can send it to both of us. And if I'll loop him in. We'll be working together to coordinate getting ready for the charrette and beyond. So absolutely, just go to the Engage Kingston site, and that's how you can find our contact info.
I was kind of just pausing for a moment in case sometimes there's a burning last question just when we're trying, once we kind of signaled the conversation. Go ahead, Tanya, go ahead.
Thanks. So I know that we've got the Well Kingston has subcommittees: Bike Friendly Kingston, Age Well, Grow Well. Are there opportunities for those subcommittees to meet directly with the consultants either before or during the charrette week?
So I already identified it in one of the charrettes as transportation. That's clearly travel well. I will invite all the members to that one. Some of the other focus teams, Heal Well, I'm not sure that fits, but Grow Well for sure. Eat Well, still thinking about. Age Well for sure, I think in all of it. So I'll send out invitations to all the focus team members to come to the charrettes, unless there's another process that you'd all like me to take. All right, cool.
That's great.
And that sounds good. Just my mind was jumping around there. There was a lot of information. I know that one or two people might have had to jump off at 5, so I just wanted to say thank you for them for coming. And Isis joined us today. I want to say welcome to Isis for joining us. If there's nothing else, I think we'll say thank you to Amy and Eric, and Kevin, I think already jumped off, but I'm sure you all are very busy, and really appreciate you joining us tonight.
No, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it, and hope to see all of you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you for having us.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Interesting.
All right, so next up we have administrative matters. I want to mention again the commissioner terms, and that is that Stacy, Melinda, and Anna unfortunately will be stepping off December 31st. So I want to put in a plug again to think about other commissioners Through Stacy at the County Department of Health, she's reached out to, oh my God, I had his name, I just blanked on it. Vincent, I think is, anyway, so she's reached out to someone who might be a good person for being a commissioner. Just want to keep planting that seed.
Vin Martello.
Thank you, that's it, yes. Think about other commissioners that would be a good fit for the commission. A connection to the hospital would be great. There doesn't seem to be a person in Freddie's position quite yet. There's someone I think that's kind of more regional, but I'd love it if it's someone who's more connected to Kingston.
Just FYI, I wrote to Dr. Doyle about that position and I didn't hear back.
Yeah.
And I think the regional person had left too a while ago.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know what's happening. I can write to him again.
I don't want to, make a big, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, Isis, but I did have a brief conversation with you. I was hoping to maybe bring Isis into this group, but I know you have a ton of things going on. But I do want to say that I'm trying to work on bringing Isis in. We'll see if we can get her to come. That's it. All I have to say about that topic. Anyone else have any suggestions, or feel free to email me if there's someone that you think of that you want me to reach out to.
Yeah, I'll email you. I do have someone in mind, but I'll let you reach out to her first.
That sounds great. All right. Okay, then I wanted to bring up our commission meeting dates. So for next month in November, we had brainstormed a little bit what we wanted to see in the next couple of meetings. Stacy had recommended or suggested that we might want to do like a networking meeting. And if we would like to do that, my thought was that maybe we'd invite everyone from all of the different focus teams if they wanted to come. It'd be a little bit maybe like bringing agencies together where people could kind of mention their organization, what's happening, any flyers or events coming up that they wanted to share. Is that what we would like to do next month? Or has anyone had any new ideas about what they'd like to bring up at the next commission meeting?
I honestly feel like there are a number of forums in Kingston and or the county where people come together and share things. I don't know how useful that is, especially on another Zoom meeting where it's so hard to talk over people. It's different, I think, when it's in person and people can talk to each other. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't know how interested I personally would be in something like that, given all the other opportunities that we have on Zoom meetings to, and I just think it's hard. I think it's hard to.
I hear you, Susanna. One of the things that because I've been on networking Zooms, one of the things that we could consider if we decide to go forward with that is, there are sort of meeting agreements at the top. You can use raise your hand instead of just unmute and start talking. And I'm not, I'm just making a statement. Those are the kinds of things that people say. Also, there are breakout rooms. And so something could be sent out ahead of time to the attendees. What are the types of things that you're interested in? I've received those in the past. And, I fill it out and basically I end up in a breakout room where the topic is with other people who I may or may not know, where the topic is something that I'm, specifically interested in. So there is a way to manage it. I'm not recommending, but I know that we've all gotten a little bit better at doing this over time. So I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, I guess I hear you. I guess I question what the purpose is. If it's just to sort of meet and greet kind of, or is there a specific goal, even for a breakout room? Would it be to help, us as a coalition to do, I don't know, fill in the blank, to come up with more ideas about, I don't know. I don't have any idea. I haven't thought about this, but I mean, I think it could be useful if we had a goal, and if there were breakout rooms, like Troy Ellen, like you say, is if is more of a goal and more of a questions to discuss in there that can be brought back to us to ponder and to think about in our work. But I don't know, maybe I'm being too demanding.
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is, I don't think you're being demanding, but the first thing I wanted to say is, perhaps Stacy does have an idea. It was Stacy who suggested this. And even if she doesn't have an idea, perhaps we can develop a framework that it would be useful. I don't know that we can develop it in a month, so from a practical standpoint, but in any event, like I said, I'm not recommending it. I'm just kind of running out the fly ball.
A reminder that, so for the other months of the year, we've had focus team reports pretty much for and so we sort of have November and December open. In years past, in December, we've done a little bit of a potluck in person. So I think we may not do that this year, and unless you all feel differently, but I suspect that we probably won't do that in person. So we sort of have November and December open at this point. If we wanted to, again, ask someone to present or go deeper into a specific topic, if we wanted to say that one of the meetings is, a health focus and we wanted to go deeper into a topic, we could do that as well. So I guess I also want to say, so if we didn't do networking at November, we could do it in December. Or what else would you like to see if we didn't do that?
I was just wondering, since we have had our focus teams already present, December might be nice to invite them, the chairs, I don't know, to thank them for the year of work. That might be one thing. But one of the things that we really don't cross over with, and the conversation about zoning and the CAP, the climate action plan, kind of made me really think about this, is we don't really cross over with the work of the other commissions, and we should. There should be more networking amongst our commissions and what we're trying to accomplish, so we move forward a more, and more cohesion. I don't know how you could do that in one meeting, but food for thought.
Would it be inviting the Climate Action Commission to come and present to us? We could sort of break it up, by meeting, or do one or two, in November or December.
Well, I think it's important to remember they don't know what we do either. You know what I mean? So it's not just they present to us, it's should they, when I think about it, as they're working on these things, they should have came to all of us as well. So, I don't think that all the other commissions are fully aware of the work of Live Well Kingston. We can't assume that. So I don't know what it would be. I don't know how it could look, or like I said, if it can be accomplished in one meeting, but I think it's a good idea to brainstorm.
Any other thoughts? It feels kind of open in the air to me. I'm not sure where we're landing on this. Any other thoughts?
What I would suggest is maybe, Emily, if you could reach out to Stacy and,
Sure.
Since she came up with that, and copy all of us and ask her to reply all about what her thoughts were.
Okay.
Because, she may actually have a plan and we don't know what it is at this point.
And should I prompt sort of some of Susanna's questions about the goals of it?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Great.
you.
And maybe mention some of the tools we could use to facilitate it that you brought up. Okay, that sounds like a good next step.
Oh, and as far as the potluck, with my cousins and with family and friends over the last 19 months, I've had virtual dinner parties. They started as virtual cocktail parties. And the beauty of it is that I am seeing my cousins from Florida, my friends in Toronto, people living in Egypt, even though we have to kind of coordinate the time difference. They're eating dinner, I'm having, brunch on a Sunday, but just putting it out there. Lemons, lemonade.
So let's think about this a little bit. So in December, I forget, maybe it was Melinda that mentioned like thanking the chairs in December. So what if we invited some of the focus teams that I think many of the members and chairs know that they're welcome here, but they're busy. But maybe we can sort of invite them for a special time in December. Maybe there's a way that I can organize a healthy snack that could be, I don't want to commit to it, but maybe there's a way that I can kind of bring a healthy snack to everyone that we could all share at the same time. I say that. DoorDash, yeah. All right, so let me think about that a little bit. I think that's a great idea. Let's think about that for December. Maybe there's a combo there we can do.
Let me know how I can support you in that. I'm not going to deliver snacks, but in terms of thought partnership, perhaps.
I think you also have, and I hate to, I'm one of those people, but you should be definitely thinking about thanking Stacy and, all those folks for their time. I already feel thanked and blessed, so you don't have to worry about me, but there are other commission members that have been on for a long time from the time that we started. And yeah, I just going back to the commission idea, I was just looking up the long list of committees and commissions that Kingston has. And yes, it's not something you're going to do in a day, but that might be something to do in breakout groups, is to maybe invite 3 or 4 chair people or representatives and have people do a round robin mixer in breakout groups and just hear a little spiel about what's going on in their commissions, right? We could start off with a spiel about ours, and then everybody pops into them kind of like you're rotating among tables, only rotating among breakout rooms, and they can repeat it a couple of times. I don't know. It's a way to ask questions without, it taking forever, I think.
Kind of like speed dating.
Yeah.
Are there commissions that are more relevant to live well?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And that there are ways that we should be, because you alluded to that before, Melinda, that we should be collaborating with more in a sense, or maybe.
Yeah, I think in all honesty, they're all relevant, but there's certainly the climate smart one. There's complete streets. We're sort of hearing through our travel well. But then there's the housing authority, which was referred to today. Planning board, not a bad idea to meet with the planning board. Recreation commission, we haven't met with them. There's a long list there. So we heard a little bit about, zoning today. So, those things that we should be thinking about when we're thinking about how health and wellness crosses over in all these policies. And there must be got to be 20 commissions and committees here, everything from the tree commission to historic landmarks. There's just a lot. Mm-hmm. Ethics board, there's a lot going on, and we have really no idea how we might cross over our work or augment some of their work.
Even policing is health. Or how policing is done is health. So I wonder if it wouldn't be beneficial to, like, over the year 22, invite a commission every meeting to do a presentation. I guess my thought there is that part of their goals is probably to get word out about what's happening in their world. And so if it's sort of part of our usual format and it's recorded, it's part of their public outreach as well. I don't know. I'm just thinking a little bit about the best way to organize that.
Well, what I'm really thinking about is they're going to learn about us, and in all of the grants and projects they're working on, they're creating policy, and policy is not necessarily crossing over in a way that we might see health crossover into it, and we should have input on that. And they might reach out more for that input if they're aware of our existence, and vice versa. We're also a little blind to what's going on. So it would just be good, I think. I'll be sorry to miss it, but yeah, it'll be good.
Well, it's a public meeting, so you'll be able to come.
I know, but trying to make time for this when you have to be there is hard
I know.
enough.
Oh, trust me.
Okay, great. So I think I'll try to I'll draft maybe a structure for the next meeting and ask for some feedback on that, and try to actually plan it out a little bit on how we'll facilitate that meeting. And I think I need to think about it a little bit too. So,
Of course.
yeah. Thank you for that. It's just about 10 after 5. We're running out of time. I want to make sure we get to the draft letter that Troy Allen spent some time working on. So if you don't all mind, let's jump to that. Troy Allen, would you like to talk to it?
Not really. I think everybody, I think everybody read it. I got input. And I had a clarifying question for Heidi. I have the letter open and I'm going to read the line.
Oh, please. Yeah.
In the first paragraph, the last sentence, and what we have known as business as usual actually may be counterproductive. And you took out the first as, and then the sentence doesn't make any sense. But I was wondering if what threw you was my use of italics, and that maybe if I put business as usual in quotes,
Right.
so
yes.
that would make sense.
Yes.
Okay, I appreciate you pointing it out to me, because I spent the first time kind of looking
Sorry.
like my old golden retriever, like, what?
What am I saying? Yes. Yeah. That's excellent. Thank you.
And then Melinda, I know you talked about the next to last paragraph. And I responded to you. I don't know if you've seen it, but you talked about, unless there's been a talk about unstable internet and lag times, et cetera, maybe we should leave this out. The focus of that was that I wanted to make the point about private and public business has been getting done. But because this is the way I am, it's one of my little things. I started out with a little funny, like a little to lighten it up, in spite of, because that will resonate. Whoever this goes to, no matter how big a muckety muck they are, they'll sit there and go, after they've gotten through this dense letter, yeah, in spite of unstable internet connections and blah, 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 and the always entertaining, reverb, business has been getting done. So it's just a way, and part of it is my marketing background, you go through that.
Yeah, my only concern with that is if you have a naysayer, somebody who really doesn't like the idea of internet meetings, it reminds them of why they don't like internet meetings. Some people may, and we've all encountered this, where somebody really has internet difficulty and just has to bop out. And that, I did want to put that back in their head.
Okay, that is a valid point. Because I'm reminded of one of the first memes I saw. It was like being at a seance, Elizabeth, are you there? Can you hear us? Kind of thing. So I will.
The fact that business is getting done is a good point. I would totally.
And I can if you just trust me to it'll be private and public businesses getting done. I may put something, but I understand your point completely. I didn't think about the naysayers because I've become so accustomed to Zoom. I'm one of the early adopters, I guess, at my age. Other than that, are there any other comments?
No, thank you, Troy Allen. That was a really good letter. Really.
Now we just have to figure out who we send it to.
Yeah. I was wondering if this letter should go to the Common Council first. That's sort of, when I was reading it, was thinking that would be a good place to start. What do you all think?
To get their
It's funny, I thought it went to them and ended there. It has to go beyond that then.
It's a state law.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
has to go.
I mean, in some ways, I think it would be good to ask we're sort of doing a recommendation to the Common Council in some ways, and that the Common Council should either pass a memorializing resolution or through politics reach out to the upper levels
In New York.
influence. But
Then
in
the
some
letter should define the ask. They're just gonna be like, yeah, that's a good letter, enter it in the minutes. So the ask should be there.
What do you think about that, Troy?
Let me think about that. And I also want to have a conversation with Manager Green about it, because Manager had also talked about at the county legislature of doing some sort of memorialization. But I think ultimately there's two asks within the letter already. It's either change the law or just let whatever section or thing, I'm not looking at it right now, it just go on in perpetuity, or until, you know, COVID is expunged from the face of the earth, which it'll probably outlive me. So there you have it. But let me just think about it, and let me talk to, because you raise a good point, let me talk to Nana, because I see her in other spaces, and see what she thinks.
Well, I think it's an interesting concept to discuss too, and just how having Zoom meetings, and even if it's a hybrid Zoom meeting, now that we're finally all getting some equipment that sort of helps with that. I know our association just bought this owl, and every time somebody talks, the camera moves and you can see them and it actually works.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's been a really big help. And as we all start to do this, think about how this opens up government to moms at home with kids, or people with disabilities that really can't get out, or folks that can't drive, you know what I mean, or can't drive at night, which is, you know, often an inhibitor. I mean, when you live in the Northeast, just the thought of winter storms, and I don't want to do that. You know, I mean, I really think I know that, you know, as long as you have the possibility to do both, I really think that it's actually opening up government to the public. And certainly the fact that you can sit at home and connect your computer to your television and watch a meeting and turn your camera off and eat your popcorn makes people more involved.
And I do touch on that to a certain extent within the letter. So I think there's a lot of this, and that's why I made my basic point of departure was sometimes leaps forward in how you conduct business happen because of this.
I appreciated it, because who the heck wants to share your home address? I'm like, I don't.
Oh, I'm certainly not going to, and
it doesn't even seem safe.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not giving my home address. If somebody really wants to find me, let them work for it. But it's not like I'm going to put a neon sign saying, "Come on in," you know.
And I don't necessarily know if that was the intent of the law. You know, that wasn't it.
No, it wasn't.
And so this makes it so ridiculous that we're abiding by something that wasn't the intent. And that's why I really appreciated the letter as well, because I do believe it kind of opens that up. And hopefully,
well, when you look at the contentiousness,
the intent initially was that if somebody is in Albany, Schenectady, Kingston, but the assumption is they're in a public space.
Right.
That is accessible to the public, not that they're sitting on a chair in front of their antique table and their Lenovo.
Right.
Well, I just think when we look at some of the most recent news of what school board members have been going through in arguments over masks or vaccinations, and how people have been going to their homes and, you know, standing outside and doing not good things. I don't think our addresses need to be there. Not that we're ever voting on anything that contentious, but you just don't know what the future will bring, and how, you know, it just doesn't seem, this is going to apply to all committees and commissions. So
and the other thing, yes, we may not be as a commission voting on contentious things, but all of
Right.
us are also in different spaces.
Right.
And that could be, oh, now I know where she lives and I have a bone to pick with her about fill in the blank.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
So yes, that really was the impetus for me. We need to be able to get business done without sacrificing, I'll speak to me, my personal peace of mind.
Yeah, it's more than privacy, though. It actually is safety. So I think that's
Right.
important.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that, yeah. I think that, pardon the pun, but that trumps everything else.
Can I laugh
Excellent.
at it even if I pardoned it? Am I allowed to chuckle?
Absolutely. I usually do, pun intended. So I don't even pretend that I want you to pardon me. But anyway, let me, I'll think about it. I'll send it around. This doesn't have to be done because the current wording doesn't sunset until January. So we have some wiggle room.
Right.
And we could do this in next month if we had to, if we actually have to come to a vote on it. Okay. But thank you so much for the support and the guidance and for bringing that up, Melinda, about the folks who may despise Zoom.
Right. Any last thoughts on that? I feel like
Broadway or
I'm
I'll go pick you up in front of the door.
on the phone. Thank you, Troy Ellen. We have no new business unless anyone has some now. Otherwise, we can go into announcements and communications. I have two pretty quick ones. The first one is the Creating Healthy Schools and Communities grant project. I think I've mentioned it here, but I'll say it quickly. So it's the State Department of Health grant we received for creating healthy schools and communities. It'll do physical activity and nutrition in different locations. We're subcontracting with Family of Woodstock to do it in early child care, Cornell Cooperative Extension to do it in the schools, and then in my department in the community. Thank you, Heidi. So we have a position open at the city to manage that grant. And Melinda can speak to her part of it in a moment if you'd like. Then I wanted to mention the pedestrian and bicycle master plan, which came up earlier on the call, that we've had our kickoff meeting for the public advisory committee. The consultants have toured Kingston. We've created some branding for the project. It's on Engage Kingston if you want to go check that out. So that project is really kept getting a lot of speed and is in full motion now. Some more public, the public outreach plan hasn't been written yet, so that's still in process. So there's still more public outreach that we would like to do. I'm going to pass it to you, Melinda, in case you want to mention more on the Creating Healthy Schools and Communities grant. Do you want to mention more?
I think the only thing I would share is that, we are also hiring and we've closed out our search and we'll be interviewing next week. So we hope to bring somebody on board to coordinate the project in about 2 or 3 weeks. And, we're looking forward to getting started. It's going to focus on doing policies and some of the educational and outreach supports to students, the student community, including staff and parents, on physical activity and health and wellness, nutrition, and but really focusing on setting up building level health and wellness committee. So they'll feed into the district health and wellness committee and work on their own building level policies that conform to the minimum of the district. So there'll be assessments in the beginning on health and wellness, and we'll be working for the first year with George Washington Elementary School. So we'll work with 4 to 5 at the most elementary schools in total, and where they are was actually defined by the grant. That was not our choice. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Melinda.
I have a couple of questions around that, Melinda. The first one is Jfk Elementary one of the elementary schools?
It is.
Oh,
So JFK, Edson, George Washington, and then either Robert Graves or shoot, just left my mind out in Lake Katrine. Yep, I can do this.
Chambers?
Trust me. Thank you. I
Okay.
think those are the schools.
Okay. And
yeah.
then the second question I had, is the food service department involved in this as well? Because
So it really doesn't
Chef
focus on school
Dave-
lunch. Yeah, it's
Chef-
not focused
I mean-
on school lunch.
No, but he's not doing just lunch. That's why I'm saying.
Yes, no, there'll be coordination with Chef Dave and with food service, because it
Okay.
will also be food, any food that's served in the building. And you know, a lot of it will be around policy, but there'll be coordination with the regional farm to school effort. There'll be coordination with the city of Kingston's new what do they have, a farm to table project with gardens. There'll be a lot of coordination with whatever's existing. I mean, that's generally, you know, how to make it work the best.
Right.
So,
I just
we wanna
wanted to
work
make
with-
sure, because he's such an incredible resource in
Yes.
terms of, you know, what, you know, following the rules, but also being able to expand the offerings and make sure he's starting his backpack program, for example, which is critical to feeding hungry children in this community.
Yes, yes. So absolutely, there'll certainly be a lot of meetings to see how, you know, these efforts can be coordinated. I mean, that would be how the grant would be launched.
Right, and I also would, at some point in the conversation, perhaps present to Kingston Emergency Food Collaborative or something. Not that we need to be at the table, but give us an idea, because one of the things in the KEFC that we want to do is support these kinds of initiatives in whatever ways we can support.
Yeah, I can totally see that, and I appreciate that suggestion, Troy Ellen. I think that we would want the coordinator to do that once they got up and running, whomever that is, you know, and we really get the project off the ground. But I think, you know, the networking and liaison of everybody, of Emily's, you know, the project in the city and the community, and also with the daycare centers for family of Woodstock, I'm sure that, you know, doing a bit of networking with all of our partners will help coalesce the projects and give them some catalyst.
Right, I wasn't meaning you personally coming. I was
No,
sort of-
that's okay.
it's the royal you, for lack of a better term, but yes, but I think that that's important, and it helps everybody within the community to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And that was it.
I'm going to jump quickly. Isis, I wanted to give you an opportunity. Do you have any announcements or communications that you would like to let us know about?
Off the top of my head, no. Everything that I have to say, you all kind of know, because we all talk in different meetings. So yeah, no, top of my head, no. Thank you.
All right. Then I'll give you, Melinda, an opportunity. Is there anything else in Cornell Cooperative Extension that you want to have us document? What's going on?
I didn't come with the dates and the flyers. I just wasn't thinking about that. But we do have, of course, our health and wellness series that we do through our FNEP program for low-income parents. Marcia Sebro is our educator there and is, you know, working very hard on recruiting low-income parents raising children in their home or caregivers. And it is an evidence-based series, very successful. Really works with people in small groups, really meets people where they're at to help them shop, budget, use their resources, incorporate physical activity in small steps that meet their needs, and you know, serve healthy meals, actually teach them some cooking skills and figure out what kinds of food they like to eat and work with that to help them develop, you know, some recipes and menus for their families. So it's really, really successful, but very, very tough to get people into it because it's an 8-week series. Can be done online, can be done in person. So we found, you know, after COVID started, that online's actually pretty amenable to a lot of people, especially when you have kids. So they want to do it that way. But that being said, we have another series that just started in October, and that's what I don't have in my head right now, the date. Is starting, I think, right around now. But if you know of folks, I'm just going to put Marcia's email in the chat, or you can email me, or of any groups that we can work with that would be really great.
I have one
Yeah.
more question on the healthy schools and communities. Is that
Yeah.
the correct? Okay. Is that, are you still interviewing for that position or you're close to making an offer?
Reminder
Here's-
from
Yeah.
Melinda,
So we closed the position announcement on Monday, and
Okay.
we're interviewing next week. So it was open for 3 weeks.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Not that I'm interested, I just was asking. I have enough to do.
Are you sure?
Well, that feels like a good segue. Troy Ellen, you're involved in so many projects and organizations. Is there any announcements that you want to get out there? Anything in your world?
I'm sure there are, but I can't think of anything right now. I did say at the top of the meeting about Radio Kingston, the work we're going to do with underwriting, which is an incredible opportunity for local businesses to get their message out, because Radio Kingston does not accept commercial advertising. And then it will fund the community fund, which is also an important support. So basically, it's like Radio Kingston supporting the community businesses, which are supporting folks in the community, and it kind of keeps most of the money, the majority of the money, in the community. So it's an excellent initiative, but it doesn't pertain to anybody here. So thank you for putting me on the spot.
I know. I feel like I did that a lot on tonight's meeting. But
That's all right. At the top of the meeting, it was like, you talk too much. You didn't say it that way.
what, I talk too much, or I was saying something else.
You were saying it's big.
Oh,
I know we're still being recorded, so let me tone it down a little bit. But I want people to understand also, there is a method to my madness, that sitting on a commission is not all pomp and circumstance, and it's not dull and boring. It can be very engaging, and I'm meeting and getting to know other people as a result of it. So if there are candidates out there, come consider joining us.
thank you, Troy Ellen. That was a love. I feel like that's the ending. Unless there's any other last thoughts. Well, you unmuted, but then you got a phone call. All right. So I'm not going to call for a motion since we don't have quorum anymore, but it's 5:32. So I'll call this meeting to an end. And I hope Isis will consider joining us at some point. And then other than that, I'll say goodnight to you all.
Thanks, Emily. It's good to see you all.
All right.
I appreciate you all.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.